Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a hand for Martell Williams.
Before I even go any further, please give it up for Representative Gainey. I also want to take just a couple of seconds, if we could. It may take more than a couple of seconds, but I'd like all you guys that are on sticks with the cameras right now to do me a favor. Pull those cameras off. Come up here and shoot that little boy right there. And when you do so, put on the wheels and finish. I want you to understand the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because people at home who are watching this live have to understand what everybody on the stage is going through today to be here just to talk to you. That young lady who just had a seizure is here putting her life at risk to beg this state to do the right thing. So I'm gonna shut up for a second. I want you to shoot this child. Let people in this state understand who this police officer is talking about. It's because of this young child and others that suffer in the state of Pennsylvania like he does every day that you should put eyes on him. So please, I'm gonna shut up. How do we live in a country? And most of you know this, and I have first let me say, I apologize, I'm not from Pennsylvania, I'm from Maryland. Some of you may consider me a carpetbagger for having the nerve to be here to speak on this issue. But I'm here to tell you that as an American who put my hand in the air and served 22 years in a uniform supporting and defending this Constitution of the United States, I believe I have the right to speak in any state in this country that I want to. I also want to say, as a fellow sufferer, the only reason why I stand here today, I wrote about this publicly, check it yourself. I talked about the fact that I sat in a closet in my own home in Greenwich, Connecticut, supposedly with the world in my palm, with a gun in my mouth, for hours on end, because I wanted to end my pain. I walked in front of a car in Columbus Circle in Manhattan, hoping that he would hit me so I wouldn't be blamed for committing suicide, but I could end my pain. It wasn't until I started using medical cannabis on a daily basis and getting my system really saturated with cannabinoids that I started getting relief. And the reason why I'm a contributing member of our society, paying taxes the way I am right now, is because of the relief that I've been able to get from cannabis. What's absolutely ignorant is that we live in a country where we differentiate between who gets to have it and who doesn't. Since when do we fight a war and say when it's over, only 10 or 20% of the country gets to reap the benefit from whatever we did? We're trying to shove democracy down other people's throats. We don't even respect the democracy we have right here, the right to live. Our Constitution begs for the right to live, for us to be able to live freely, for us to be able to live here and be able to dream. But for me to be able to do that, I have to be able to do so and be pain-free. And I'll be back up for a second. I did the dance that the doctors prescribed for me. I did them all. I took enough Oxycontin to almost shut down my liver and kidneys. I took enough Percocets, Vicodins. Name the set, I took it. And I'm not knocking pharmaceuticals. There's a purpose and a reason for them. But I'm here to tell you that over long periods of time, it's nothing but death. Now, why is it that in this state right here today, I can pick up the phone, call any doctor in this state, and they have to, because I am on record and I can show you my prescription for it, write me a prescription for morphine, Oxycontin, oxycodone. Doesn't matter where I am in the country, I can get as much of it. I have it in my bag right now. I carry it for the states like this, where I have to abuse myself rather than treat myself. So I can get that. But something as benign as cannabis is not made available to me all over the country. I'm not robbing anybody. I'm not stealing from anybody. All I'm doing is working on trying to make myself a whole person. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now I understand that in this state, politics is really the only reason why this bill has been held up. Everybody clearly knows it. You have one representative, his name is Mr. Baker, who has unequivocally stated that cannabis doesn't work, and the first second that the federal government backs this up, then I'm going to be there. Really? Well, what you ought to do is do real research, not like the research you had the nerve to present to people claiming it supported your stand against. If you did real research, and I'm going to have to do this and slow everybody down for a second, but I want to read something to you. Back in February 19th of 1980, the U.S. government issued a patent, and it was then patent number US 4189491A, that says in the abstract, significant success in alleviating the symptoms of glaucoma have been achieved through orally utilizing THC. I'm only reading the first one back then because I want you to know I could sit here right now and read 30 patents that have been issued by the U.S. government to people who have submitted for patents for things like the treatment of psychological effect to pain, the treatment of tumors, the treatment of spasticity, the treatment of epilepsy. The U.S. government issues patents on a regular basis on cannabinoids. And guess what? They issued 2 of them to themselves. One for THC, the other for CBD. They are right now licensing those patents to companies to move them forward, and then out of the same side of their mouth say that marijuana doesn't work. So I want to go back to Representative Baker. Get some facts. The fact is, the government states unequivocally through the patent office that marijuana works. And I will ensure that any news outlet that wants to have the list of patents, I'll give them to you. I will give them to you. I hope you put them up so that the rest of the country understands the hypocrisy that we are living in right now. I want to tell you a little story. This young lady right here, and I'm so sorry, I broke down crying right there. You know why? Because we know now for a fact, in families of people with MS, epilepsy follows. I passed epilepsy on to my daughter. Okay? Pretty sure I did. My child just went through what you just went through about 3 weeks ago in my arms. My child is a cannabis user, capable of doing so and getting the relief she needs. Now, I know your bill that is right now and it's confusing where it is and stands. It's in the House right now. You have named and identified a few maladies that would be included, but you're going to have to understand, just go to the list of patents and pick every illness that the government already stated it works for, and please include those in your bill as we move it forward. But we got to get it out of the House. We got to get it out of committee. And it's stuck in committee because of Representative Baker. So I'm going to use his name over and over and over again to make sure he understands that around the country, the rest of the country is starting to understand this is not an issue, states' rights, federal government. This is an issue of compassion.
Yes.
And that's it. The doctor spoke so eloquently on one point in its own. I just, God bless you for being able to survive what you have survived. I have to tell you the truth also. In the last 2 years, I have one daughter who has epilepsy. My second oldest was diagnosed 2 years ago with lymphoma. She went through some of the worst rated chemotherapy treatment that you can think of, and she beat it. And about 6 months later, it came back. And because when it came back more vehemently, she had to undergo a different form of treatment to do so. Now I should slow down for a second and tell you my daughter is 26 years old. So when my daughter went to the doctor, the conversation wasn't between the doctor, myself, and my daughter. The conversation was between my daughter and the doctor. As much as I, as a father, felt like I had the right to stick my hand in here and say, oh no, oh no, oh no, the doctor basically told me a couple times to shut up. It's between me and her. Why? Because in the second go around, he started talking about a drug that he was going to give to her. And the drug he was going to give to her could make her skin fall off, could make her throw up her esophagus. And I had no say. My daughter and the doctor made the agreement, they figured it out, she did that drug. All those things happened, but guess what? She's alive, well now, her cancer's in remission, she's back and doing great, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that I couldn't step in between my daughter and her doctor and tell him which drug to use. There's no other drug on the planet that people have the audacity to step up and think that they are experts on, to get in the middle of between a doctor and a patient. I have had doctors from the Nobel Institute, from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, around the world say to me, clearly what you're doing is working, don't stop. And every one of them know what I'm doing. So my question is, what right does anyone have to come between a patient and a doctor? If the doctor can prescribe for me OxyContin, if he can prescribe for me Talwin, he can prescribe for me cannabis, and anybody else should shut up and get out of the conversation. So I gotta close and say, I started off and I asked you guys to take the cameras down and do that. But standing up here, these aren't just people holding signs because they want you to read a word. These are people who are suffering themselves. Took this much time to stand behind me, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, wasting syndrome, standing here, begging. Now I don't know about you. You pay a lot of money in taxes. Your tax dollars demand that you get an up or a down vote. No one has the right to not ask the question, give it a chance to be voted on. If it comes back no, we will be back and fight again next year. But it's going to come back yes. Let it go. Thank you.